City Soccer here, and you're listening to The Briefcase with Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blizzard fans, and welcome to The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. Episode 179 of The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. I am Casey Holdahl, and the Portland Trail Blazers returned from a 4-1 trip to lose back-to-back games to the Suns in a semi-blowout, and then to the Bulls, once again getting buzzer beat on a three-pointer after a fantastic fourth-quarter rally. Ends up getting over the top, but ends up not going the Trailblazers' way. Nikola Vucevic hits a three as time expires to send the Trailblazers to their fourth straight loss. We'll also discuss young Hansen's progress. Went down to the remix, had some practices, played some games. It's back with the Trailblazers now. We'll talk about Hansen. We'll talk about the last two games, and we'll talk about this upcoming road trip on this edition of The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. Well, the Trailblazers returned from a 5-game road trip with a 1-4 record, winning one game versus the New Orleans Pelicans, losing the other games, playing a good game versus the Heat, but losing that one, getting buzzer beat by the Orlando Magic after a comeback in that one, beat the Pelicans, and then lose to the Houston Rockets in the first, I would say, blowout of the season for the Trailblazers in an NBA Cup game. And then they finished off the trip by getting outlegged in the fourth quarter, as often is the case at the end of a road trip, by the Mavericks in Dallas to come home 1-4 off that 5-game road trip. They have a back-to-back after that versus the Suns and Bulls. Unfortunately, not able to get either one of those games. First game versus the Suns on Tuesday. Trailblazers, and really the story of the Trailblazers season as of right now, and I guess probably the Trailblazers season in total as of right now. Unfortunately, it's about injuries. Trailblazers down all kinds of players right now. They're missing a third of their rotation players due to injury in the game versus the Suns. They put up a fight in the first half of that game, but could not keep up in the second half. Third quarter is becoming somewhat of an issue for this Trailblazers team on the way to a 127-110 loss to the Phoenix Suns in front of a crowd of 17,051 Tuesday night at Moda Center. The Blazers were missing Jerami Grant, who was out with illness. Also, still don't have Jrue Holiday, who has had calf soreness. Joining Scoot Henderson, Matisse Thybulle, Blake Wesley, and Damian Lillard, all on the injured list. I didn't even count Dame in that third of the players because he's out for the season, so I don't really even consider him part of the injury report right now. But even then, even if you don't count Dame, still a whole lot of players out for the Trailblazers right now. So they found themselves with as few as 11 players in the game versus the Suns. So as you would imagine, they're playing a bunch of new lineups because they're having to juggle all kinds of different players right now. Basically, anyone who's able to play has to play right now. And because of that, they're playing a bunch of new lineups. And they do end up finishing the first half after going down on an 8-0 run to cut Phoenix's lead to 3 by the intermission. And at that point in time, the Blazers hadn't played very well, but you're feeling pretty good about their chances because, again, they're able to rally, go 8-0 to end the first half to get to within 3. But then the Suns score the first 12 points of the second half and take what was at the time their largest lead of the game at 76-61. Blazers didn't convert a field goal attempt until midway through the third quarter. By that point in time, they get outscored by 15 in the third. Going into the fourth, Trailblazers just don't have enough players right now to be able to mount a comeback versus a team like the Suns. Suns go up 182 in the fourth quarter. That deficit grows to as many as, I don't even know how large it got. Trailblazers couldn't overcome it though, especially when they're missing their top two scorers in Jrue Holiday and Jerami Grant, or at least two of their best scorers. So Trailblazers end up losing that game 127-110 Tuesday night. Shaedon Sharpe led all scorers of 29 points on 12 of 24 shooting from the field, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, and a steal in 29 minutes for Shaedon. Shaedon on a very good run. Fortunately, didn't end up playing in the game versus the Bulls because of calf soreness. Deni Avdija in that loss versus the Suns, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in 29 minutes as well. Caleb Love having his best game of the season, 17 points on 7 of 14 shooting from the field to go with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Donovan Clingan in that loss to the Suns, 9 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 2 assists. So the Trailblazers end up losing that game to the Suns on Tuesday in a nationally televised game. 8 o'clock start time for that one on Peacock and NBC, making that's got to be the first Trailblazers regular season NBC game in, a long time, which is cool, but also 8 o'clock start times kind of stink, particularly when it's the first game of a back-to-back, which it was. So the Trailblazers right back at it the next day on Wednesday, hosting the Chicago Bulls, a team that is finishing up a Western Conference road trip or West Coast road trip. Blazers end up losing that game 122-121 Wednesday night. Blazers go up early in that game. They have a 10-0 run in the first quarter, look energetic, in that first quarter. You're feeling good about the game, but the percentages start to fall as that first quarter goes on. Even though they jumped out to a 10-2 lead, which, it's the NBA. Those leads never last. But you would hope they would have had a little bit more than a 29-28 lead going into the second quarter, but that's where they were at. Bulls gained quite a bit of momentum at the end of that first quarter, which they carry into the second quarter. They shoot 57% from the field and 42% from three in the second quarter, while the Blazers go 12 of 30 from the field and, more importantly, shoot just 1 of 9 from three, giving the Bulls the advantage. Three-point defense right now for the Trailblazers has been a real problem, something that they got to get their arms around, because it's really making it difficult for them to win games if they're giving up as many good looks from three as they're giving up right now. So the Bulls take a 62-58 lead into the half. Blazers, once again, third quarters, as I mentioned, an issue for this team. Not entirely sure why. I don't know if it's other teams just know that they're not playing especially well in the third quarter, so they're coming out and being real aggressive in the third quarter. Whatever it is working for other teams. It is not working for the Trailblazers right now in that third quarter. Bulls outscore the Blazers by 12 in the quarter on 50% shooting from the field and 54% shooting from three in the third quarter for the Bulls. Good grief. Meanwhile, the Blazers shoot just 38% from the field and go 1 of 8 from three. As you can imagine, that results in the Bulls taking a 16-point lead into the fourth quarter. That lead swells to 21 points with about 9 minutes to play, and at that point in time, you figure the game is pretty much effectively over, though the crowd at Moda Center, and I mentioned this on Twitter, fantastic crowds of the last couple nights. I mean, really good crowds at Moda Center this season regardless. But the Blazers playing second out of a back-to-back, an all-home back-to-back. Not very good for attendance, because asking people to come to back-to-back games can be pretty difficult. So the Blazers playing the second game of back-to-back. Fourth quarter, they're down 21 points. Crowd is still engaged, still active, still cheering the team on. I thought that was really cool, and that was one of the main reasons, along with the Bulls missing some free throws and the Blazers hitting some threes, that allowed the Portland Trail Blazers to get back into that game. Portland goes on a 21-3 run, mostly thanks to Deni Avdija and Jerami Grant, who, again, was not feeling very good on Wednesday, but played nonetheless. You got to give Chicago some credit, too, for, as I mentioned, the free throws that they missed. They turned the ball over. It seemed like they thought they had the game wrapped up, which, you kind of understand, but it is the NBA, and comebacks happen all the time, and a comeback happened Wednesday night for the Trail Blazers. Thanks to that 21-3 run. That run cuts the Bulls' lead to 112-109 with just over 4 minutes to play. Deni and Donovan then combined to score 9 straight points to give the Trailblazers their first lead since the early in the second quarter at 120-116, and that's with 16 seconds to play. So the Blazers taking the lead with 16 seconds to play. Deni on the next play misses a free throw. Coby White gets open in the scramble for a three, hits the three, cuts Blazers lead to 120-119 with 9.1 seconds to play. Blazers inbound to Jerami. He's fouled immediately. He misses the first shot, makes the second. Blazers are up 121-119. On the last play of the game, Coby White drives once again. Blazers collapse defensively. Deni kind of sinks in. Tumani sinks in. Coby White able to kick the ball out to Vucevic. A great pass to Vucevic to hit the three as time expires. Bulls 122, Blazers 121. Tumani took the blame for that in the post game. Said that was his rotation. It's just instinct to kind of crash down when a guy is driving the lane. If you give up a 2 in that situation, you're going to overtime. So worst case scenario in that situation, you just want to give up a 2 and then see what you're able to do in the OT. You don't want to give up 3. That's exactly what happened. So the Blazers, once again, the second time in the last 5 or 6 games, they lost on a 3-point buzzer beater to the Magic. That was really more of I won't say it was luck, but, Desmond Bane throws a shot over his shoulder and it goes in. That's unfortunate, but, you're going to lose on the road with guys hitting tough shots sometimes. Nikola Vucevic got a wide open 3-pointer. Nikola Vucevic, the leading scorer for the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic, a player who averages more points versus the Trailblazers than any other team in the NBA. And that's by a considerable margin. I think he averages like 22 or 23 points versus the Trailblazers. His next best is like 18 points versus some other team. So a guy who has had it going all night long versus the Trailblazers, had it going his entire career versus the Trailblazers. You cannot leave that guy open, particularly from 3 in a 2-point game. Trailblazers do that, end up losing that game for their 4th consecutive loss. Tumani takes the blame, but as Thiago rightly pointed out, you don't lose games on the last play. Blazers got themselves back in a position to win that game, but they missed so many free throws in that game. And that's another thing, too. I talked about three-point defense being an issue for this team. Free throw shooting for this team really seems to also be an issue. Trailblazers are the kind of team right now, too, that like they just, particularly with as many guys out, they cannot leave points on the table at the free throw line. The Blazers versus the Bulls go 21 of 32, 66% from the free throw line Wednesday night. If they make two more free throws, they win that game. You can't shoot sub 70% from the free throw line when you're a team that's missing six players and who is really operating on a skeleton crew. You got to get, and even if you had everyone available, this Blazers team, they know that, offense is going to be an issue the entire season. You can't leave points on the table at the free throw line. You just can't do it. As the late, great Bill Schonely said, you got to make your free throws. Trailblazers did not make their free throws Wednesday night, so you can't blame Tamani or Deni for not getting out to Vucevic on that three-point shot any more than you can blame guys for, again, going 66% from the free throw line. Just can't do it. So in that game, Deni Avdija getting a triple-double. Deni continues his all-star caliber play this season. 32 points on 50% shooting from the field, 7 of 12 shooting from the line, as I mentioned. That's the one bummer there. 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, and a block for Deni Avdija. Third career triple-double for Deni, all of which have come in his 1+ seasons with the Portland Trailblazers. Deni, as we've talked about over and over again, really coming into his own, really aggressive, really putting this team on his back at times, and absolutely is looking like an all-star this season. I'll have to dig down a little bit deeper into how they're doing the all-star game this year. I know there's going to be a certain number of international players. I think it's 8. So probably need to start counting up kind of how that works out. I don't know if it has to be an even mix between East and West, which there shouldn't be because the West is far superior to the East as it typically is, but this year it's vastly superior. So I'll have to look into that a little bit, but Deni Avdija absolutely playing like a guy who deserves his first All-Star bid. Unfortunate they weren't able to get the win tonight, but Deni, if he doesn't get that triple-double, they don't even get close to being in that game. So a fantastic outing once again for Deni Avdija. Jerami Grant absolutely putting on for his team as well. 33 points on 10 of 18 shooting from the field, 5 of 9 shooting from 3, and 8 of 10 shooting from the line to go with 9 rebounds, 4 assists for Jerami Grant. He missed the Suns game due to illness, said that he was throwing up all day yesterday, was not feeling good this morning, but felt good enough to come to the arena and play. It was Jerami Grant collectible glass night as well, so always helps to play on the collectible glass night. Jerami going out there, gutting it out, playing absolutely fantastic basketball. Another guy, too, who, if Jerami isn't playing as well as Jerami's played this season, they don't get anywhere close to having anywhere near the wins they have this season. So both Deni and Jerami really doing everything they can to keep this team afloat. They both did that Wednesday night. Unfortunately, that was not enough to get the win. 17 points and a career-high 21 rebounds for Donovan Clingan to go with 4 assists, 2 blocks, in 33 minutes. Great game for Donovan Clingan. I've been kind of wondering a little bit about Donovan's rebounding, and it was great to see him come out and grab 21 rebounds tonight. Trailblazers had 64 rebounds in that game, and the two teams combined for 102 rebounds. I believe that's some kind of record. I think the combined one, at least, might be the most combined rebounds for a team in a game, maybe since they started. I don't know when, but a fellow who was in the stands tonight told me that ChatGPT told him that was a record. I told him I don't trust AI like that just yet, so I would have to look into it, but that sure sounds right. So that's a whole lot of rebounds for the Portland Trailblazers, which is great to see, but once again, you'd really like to see them get rewarded for that win. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it goes, particularly when you're down as many guys as the Blazers are, you have to play almost perfect in order to win. The Blazers are not playing perfectly right now, but they are putting themselves in a chance to win as they did Wednesday night. Fortunately, down the stretch, I think this is just one of those situations where they're a young team and young teams got to learn how to win down the stretch, and they're learning the hard way right now because they've had some late game wins, particularly earlier on in the season when they had all of their players or most of their players available, and more recently since they've lost a number of players, particularly guards. A lot of times guards are the guys who are handling the ball, know what to do late in games. They don't have a whole lot of those guys out there right now, and I think you're seeing the results of that late in games. So games that you would think that if the Blazers were healthy and maybe later on the season, maybe they get those games, but they're not healthy and it's not later on the season. So that's where they're at. So the Blazers come off a 5-game road trip, have a all home back to back, and then head right back out for 3 games. Thursday, team leaves in the afternoon facing the Golden State Warriors. Friday in San Francisco, travel day on Saturday, and then a very odd back to back versus the Thunder and Bucks on Sunday and Monday. I guess you pick up an hour going from Oklahoma City to Milwaukee, and I'm guessing the game in Oklahoma City on Sunday will be an earlier start. It is a 4 o'clock start, so a 5 o'clock start in Oklahoma City. So you guess that makes it a little bit better, but as I've said on the radio the other day, to have a back-to-back where you play teams from a different conference always just kind of feels weird. And in Oklahoma City, Milwaukee, I mean, like, sure, I guess, but just kind of weird back-to-back. So the fact that the Blazers play 5 games, come home, have a back-to-back, and then go back out for 3 games, including a back-to-back, not a whole lot of favors from the scheduling folks, but the Trailblazers doing their best. And the only thing too is particularly, you lose a game to the Bulls, you've now lost 4 straight. You're heading out for 3 more games, all 3 of those games versus very difficult opponents. Potential the Blazers are coming back to Portland on a 7-game losing streak. That would be a supreme bummer. So you really need to try to get at least one of those games. The Thunder at home, good luck. Warriors are playing pretty good basketball right now. Giannis is going to be out for the game versus the Bucks, so I guess that opens the door there as well. And the Blazers have played fairly well in Milwaukee the past couple seasons for whatever reason. I think maybe the Dame piece, but either way, really would be nice for them to get at least 1 game on that road trip, if not more, because if nothing else, you really don't want to come back to town on a 7-game losing streak, and then you host the Spurs. You play Oklahoma City again before heading out for another 4-game road trip. So that could very easily spiral. Some pretty tough home road games, some not very easy home games either. You need to start getting some of these games, or else, again, that thing starts to spiral pretty quick. While he wasn't much of a factor in the game versus the Bulls, young Hansen has made some improvements as of late, and I figured we should talk about it because obviously he's a rookie. He's been assigned to the G League a couple times, played some games with the Remix, so I figure it's probably about time to check in and see how Hansen is doing. And he's making progress. I think, after he played a couple practices on assignment with the Remix, and then when the team was out on that 5-game road trip, he was with the team for the first couple games. He's not getting any minutes. They're not having any practices because they're on the road and they're playing every other day. They're traveling. So the Blazers decide to assign Hansen to the Remix, joins the Remix in the last couple games of that road trip, ends up playing versus the Valley Suns and the South Bay Lakers. He has 8 points on 4 of 11 shooting from the field, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block in 29 minutes as the Remix rallied from, I think they were down more than 20 points to beat the Valley Suns 107-104 in wherever the Valley is in Phoenix, probably in Phoenix. I'm not entirely sure where the Valley Suns play, but I'm guessing it's probably in the Phoenix area. 2 nights later, Hansen posts 21 points on 8 of 16 shooting from the field, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks in 29 minutes, though the Remix would eventually lose 113-111 to the South Bay Lakers in Los Angeles. So builds a little confidence, gets a little rhythm, rejoins the team after they return from the trip, plays 13 minutes in a loss to the Suns, 9 points on 4 of 7 shooting from the field, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. Next game, no Robert Williams because he's not playing the second night of back-to-backs. So it seemed like Hansen was going to get more minutes in that game, and I think if the game had gone a different way, he probably would have. But with Donovan playing as well as he was, and with the Blazers kind of getting things going in the fourth quarter, Hansen ends up playing just 8 minutes, posts 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. But more important, and in fact, far more important than the stats or how many minutes he's playing, is you could just see after he spent that time with the Remix, getting an opportunity to work on a few things, getting his rhythm down, getting some of his post moves down. You could just see how much more confident and comfortable Hansen was in these games versus these Suns and the Bulls than he was in the previous games earlier this season. In those games, I think, probably, I won't say it hurt his confidence, but just not really having a whole lot of opportunity to go out there and play free. And that's another thing too. And Thiago had even mentioned it in his pregame, is that, they're down so many guys at this point that, Hansen playing that kind of fast up and down, a lot of possession style of game, probably not doesn't really jibe with where Hansen is at right now. But since they're not able to necessarily play that way right now because of injuries, getting Hansen in games does give you kind of a little change of pace, a little bit of a different look offensively, allows him to what he's probably best at right now is operating out of the high post and creating for other guys in the half court. And, a lot of times when the Blazers are playing the way they want to play right now when they're healthy, just not a whole lot of half-court opportunities necessarily for Hansen, but with the way they're having to play now with injuries, does open up some opportunities for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him play a little bit more and maybe, have them throw those wrinkles out there a little bit. But really more than anything, again, just like he just looks so much more comfortable out there. His post moves in both the games versus the Suns and just the 2 points he scored versus the Bulls were in the post on nice little kind of post moves, like getting his footwork down, understanding kind of where the defense is going to come from, how opposing centers are going to defend him, how help side is going to come if he is able to get open, and then figuring out how to play out of that, figuring out when to kick out, maybe not always looking to throw the pass, maybe sometimes looking for his own a little bit more. So I think you've seen exactly what you would hope to see from Hansen after he played at the Remix. And again, it just goes to show how important having the remix is for any NBA team, particularly for an NBA team that drafts a guy like Hansen, who they know is going to be a little bit of a project. You have to have a place where you're able to get that guy some minutes, and the remix is a great opportunity for that. I think, with the injuries the Blazers have right now, I think that Hansen is probably going to be with the Blazers on this next road trip. Particularly because, with Rob not playing second out of back-to-backs, that game versus the Bucks is a back-to-back. So you would assume that, that Hansen will have an opportunity in that game. Like, we kind of assumed he was going to have it in the Suns game, even though it didn't really pan out that way. Thiago did say before the game that he did expect to play Hansen more. So again, I think it's kind of the way the game flow went. So I think he's probably at least going to stay with the team for these next 3 games on the road. But when the team comes back, I think the Remix start their home schedule, I think, first week of December. So at that point in time, I wouldn't at all be surprised if they did reassign Hansen to the G League, to the Remix, and ends up playing more games with the Remix. But just as of right now, they need the bodies. So, like, they need Hansen out there because they're down 4, 5, 6 guys in games. And again, with Rob not playing second out of back-to-backs, you need to have a second center, and Hansen is that guy right now behind Donovan Clingan when Rob isn't able to play. So going to be with the Blazers for a while now, but wouldn't all be surprised to see him back with the Remix, and that's great. I think that works well for Hansen. I think it works well for the team, and that's how you get better, is by playing. If they were having a lot of practices, if they had an extended homestand, I think Hansen is probably stays with the Trailblazers. But the fact that they don't get to practice a whole lot, a guy like Hansen, he's 20 years old. He needs the run. He needs the bump. He needs to get the rhythm down. He needs to get the speed of the game in the NBA down. Those are things that are hard to do when you're just sitting on the bench and you're practicing after games. So, having the opportunity to send Hansen to the Remix, I think obviously it's great for the Blazers. I think it works for the Remix, and I know it's great for Hansen as well. And, those games are also available for free on Roku. So if you have any interest in watching some G League games, I would highly suggest you do. They're pretty fun. And when the Remix start their home schedule at Child Center, I would definitely tell you to go out there to Child Center, 1, because it's in my neighborhood, and 2, it's always a fun time. And seeing Hansen live in that situation, I think will be super fun. I imagine we'll probably pull some pretty good crowds at Child Center this year, regardless. But particularly for the games with Hansen, he's getting great reactions from the crowd when he's checking in at Moda Center, which I'm sure is probably very heartening for him as well. I've kind of seen some stuff on Chinese social media with, complaints about, his fitness and so on and so forth. He's a young big in the NBA, guys. Like, it's just going to take him some time. It takes every young big time, particularly a 20-year-old, particularly a guy coming from another country, particularly with a language barrier. Those are not things that are exclusive to Hansen in the slightest. Those are just things that all rookies go through, up to and including Donovan Clingan. Look at a photo of Donovan Clingan during his rookie season. Look at a photo of Donovan Clingan now. Watch some tape of Donovan Clingan last season. Watch some tape of Donovan Clingan now. And that's a guy who played 2 seasons at UConn, winning back-to-back national championships. All rookies take time to develop, particularly rookie bigs who play big, who, again, are coming from another country, didn't play college, didn't play in Europe. Chinese league is a good league, but not to the level of those leagues. And so it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up to speed, which is entirely predictable. He's doing great. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Briefcase. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I'm hitting the road with the team. We'll record at least one briefcase on the road. I was actually out of commission for the last week. I apologize for the lack of shows, but physically just not able to do it. But I appreciate you guys listening, liking, and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. We'll do it again soon. Thanks so much to folks at Spirit Mountain Casino. Once again, Trailblazers heading out to face the Warriors on Friday, and then a back-to-back versus the Thunder and Bucks on Sunday and Monday. Until I talk to you next time, I'm Casey Holdahl. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, go Blazers.